जहर प्रसादे बाये भवतरियो जहाँ जहर प्रसादे बाये भवतरियो जहाँ कृष्ण प्राप्ति होई जहाँ होते कृष्ण प्राप्ति होई जहाँ होते गुरु मुख पद्मावक्या चित्ते कोरिया क्या गुरु मुख पद्मा वाक्या चित्ते कोरिया क्या और न कोरी हो मने आशा और न कोरी हो मने आशा श्री गुरु चरण रति ऐसे उत्तम गति गुरु चरण रति ऐसे उत्तम गति जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्म जन्म प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्म जन्म प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ फटे अविद्या विनाश जाते प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ फते अविद्या विनाश जाते। वेद गाय जहाँ रचई तो वेद गाय जहाँ रचई तो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनरा बंधु। श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनरा बंधु। लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना प्रभुपाद लोकेरा जीवाना। हा प्रभु तोर दया देह मोरे पद छाया। हा प्रभु कर दया देह मोरे पद छाया। जागु सुक्ति भुवाना शिला प्रभुपाद पतित पावना। दुआ पद लैला शरणा जया प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा। प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निते नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि Gaurabhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Udilo Varuno Purabhavage Dvijamani Gauramani Jage Bhakta Samuha Loya Sate Gelo Nagarada Tathai baje lokho gana gana tahe jajra rol preme dala dala sonera angal charane no purabage Mukunda Madhava Jadava Hari Bolo nahi bolo re vadan badin Miche ninda bose gelo re rati Divasa sarirasa age Emona durlabha manava deha Paiya ki karo bhavna ke ho बिना भजले जशोदा सुतन कर में पौड़ बेला उदितो सपन হইবে আস্তা বিনা গেল বলে হইবে ব্যস্তা তবে কেন এবে আলস হয় না বজরি দয়ারাজে। जीवन नित्या जान हसान ताहे नाना विधा विपद बार। नाम छया करे जतने तुम कह अपन काजे। जीवे रव कल्याण साधन काम जगते आसिए मधुर नाम। अविद्या तिमिरा तपना रूप हृदय गगने विराजे। कृष्ण नाम सुधा करिया पान जुराओ भक्ते विनोद प्राण। नाम बिना किछो नहीं तो और 14 भुवन मागे। नाम बिना किछो नहीं तो और 14 भुवन मागे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Srimad Sadan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita Rup Sanatana Bhakta Raghunath Sri Deva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitya Gaur Haribol, 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 Haribol. Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Stotarasada Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Stotarasada Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Kori Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Nam Sankirtan Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Shri Shri Radhesham Ki Jai. This is Prabhupada Nectar. Some of Prabhupada's disciples were in the midst of famous or infamous careers just before they joined him to take up full-time spiritual life. Jagatarini Devidasi had been a leading movie actress in Australia and had just made a film with Mick Jagger before deciding to surrender to Srila Prabhupada. One time, while Prabhupada was visiting Australia, a reporter picked up on the story that the former actress had now become a renounced devotee. They ran two pictures in the newspaper showing Jagatarini, first as a movie actress with makeup and fashionable attire, and another photo of her wearing a sari and washing a pot. When the newspaper came out, the devotees were amused and wanted to bring it to Prabhupada, although Jagatarini was frightened that he would be displeased. When Prabhupada saw the photos, he began to laugh. In this picture as a movie actress, she looks morose and she is not very beautiful, said Prabhupada. Then he pointed to the picture of his disciple in a sari, but in this picture, she looks very lively and very beautiful. But to the materialist, they will see the other way. That evening in the temple, when Jagatarini approached Prabhupada's Vyasasan to receive a piece of prasadam, he said to her, "You are very fortunate because Krishna saved you from all that nonsense." Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tonight, Harishauri Prabhu will be speaking at 7 o'clock on Srila Prabhupada's management, and Mother Lakshmi Moni will give class today. Here are the devotees who have assisted their Guru in dressing the deities. Sri Sri Radhesham were dressed by Mother Shama Priya, Chota Radhesham by Mother Nanda, Sri Sri Krishna Balaram by Mother Guru Prasad, Chota Krishna Balaram by Mother Madhuri Gopi, Sri Sri Gaurnitai by Mother Manjari Sundari, Chota Gaurnitai by Mother Karuneshwari, and the Gurus and Lord Nishingadev by Ram Narayan Prabhu. Small pure kartals are here just now.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivana Rani Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivana Rani Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Stotra Sri Sriman, His Divine Grace, Hare Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, BBT Founder Acharya, Iskcon Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti, Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Hridis Thakur Ki, Krimshika Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Navadvip Dham Ki, Shri Ganga Mai, Jamuna Mai, Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Glories to you, Shri Prabhupada. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, the 42nd chapter. We have been assigned text 5 through 10. The title of the chapter is The Breaking of the Bow, but actually we're still talking about Kupja. We haven't yet gotten to the breaking of the bow. So we'll do the first verse responsively, and then the other ones we'll just chant together. There's very little in the way of purports to these verses. Tatastavangaragena Svavarne Tarasobina Samprapta Parapagena Shushubhate Nuranjitao Tatastavangarangena Svavane Tarashobina Samprapta Parabhagena Shushubhate Nuranjitao Tatastavangarangena Svavare Tarasobina Samprapta Parabhagena Shushubhate Naranjitao. Vaishnavas? Tatastavangaragena Svavare Tarashobina Samprapta Parabhagena Shushubhate Naranjitao Tatastavangaragena Svavarne Tarashobina Samprapta Parabhagena Shushubhate Nuranjitao Tatastavangaragena Svavarne Tarashobina Samprapta Parabhagena Shushubhate Niranjitao Tatasvangaragena Svavarne Tarashobina Samprapta Parabhagena Shushubhate Niranjito. Vaishnavis? Tatastavangaragena Svavarne Tarashobina Samprapta Parabhagena Sushubhate Niranjito. Tatasvangaragena Svavare Tarashobina Samprapta Parabhagena Sushubhate Niranjito. Tatastavangaragena Svavarne Tarashobina Samprapta Parabhagena Sushubhate Nuranjita. Fantastic. Tatat, then, tau, they, anga, of their bodies, ragena, with the coloring cosmetics, sva, their own, varna, with colors, itara, other than, shobina, adorning, samprapta, which exhibited, para, the highest, bhagena, excellence, shishubhate, they appeared beautiful, anuranjital, anointed. Translation: anointed with these most excellent cosmetics, which adorned them with hues that contrasted with their complexions, the two lords appeared extremely beautiful. Purport: the Acharyas suggest that Krishna spread yellow ointment upon his body and Balaram blue ointment upon his. Okay, let's chant the other verses together. Are they there? Let's go. Prasanna Bhagavan Kubjam Trivakram Ruchirananam Ritvim Kartam Manaschakre Darshayam Darshane Palam. Lord Krishna was pleased with Trivakra, so he decided to straighten that hunchback girl with the lovely face just to demonstrate the result of seeing him. Padbyam akramya prapade duyanguli utana panina pagna chibuke dimam udani mad achyuta. Pressing down on her toes with both his feet, Lord Achyuta placed one upward pointing finger of each hand under her chin and straightened up her body. Satara Josamarangi Brachtroni Padyodara Mukunda Sparshanat Sadyo Babhuva Pramadita. Simply by Lord Mukunda's touch, Trivakra was suddenly transformed into an exquisitely beautiful woman with straight, evenly proportioned limbs and large hips and breasts. Text 9. Tato rupa ganara sampana pahakeshavam utariyantam akvishya samyanti yatarichaya. Now, endowed with beauty, character, and generosity, Trivakra began to feel lusty desires for Lord Keshava. Taking hold of the end of his upper cloth, she smiled and addressed him as follows. Ehi viragriham yamo natvam chaktam ihotsahe tvayo matita chitaya prasida purusharshabha. Trivakra said, "Come, O hero, let us go to my house. I cannot bear to leave you here. O best of males, please take pity on me, since you have agitated my mind." Purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti supplies the following conversation. Krishna, is it for the purpose of dining that you're inviting me to your house? Trivakra, I simply can't leave you here. Krishna, but people here on the King's Road will misconstrue what you're saying and laugh. Therefore, please don't speak like this. Trivakra, I can't help being agitated. You made the mistake of touching me. It's not my fault. Oh, Magana Timarandasya Ganangana Shavakaya Chakshur and Miltam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruvena Mahamukam Karati Vachalam Pangam Varam Gayate Girinat Kripatam Ham Bande Shri Guru Dinatanam. Hare Krishna. So this story of Kubja and all the stories in the Bhagavatam, they have many, many layers of instruction. So there's the philosophical instructions, and then there's instructions even on a sub-religious level, how to behave and how not to behave. And then, of course, there's the Leela. There's the activity itself and what happens and how we relish it and how we talk about it and how by talking about it, it brings us closer to Krishna. So we've heard a lot about the Leela and somewhat about the philosophy. I'd like to, but the Shastra is didactic. It's there to teach us things. And so philosophically, practically, we're supposed to learn things from these experiences of Krishna with his devotees. And we're supposed to put them in our lives somehow. We're supposed to learn about them. I remember once hearing a class, I think it was about Dhruva Maharaj, and the person who was speaking, said that we shouldn't think, oh, he's 5 years old, that could never happen to me, no one in this world could do those things. But we're supposed to look into that story, and we're supposed to find things that apply to us, that exist, that influence our lives and our actions and our thoughts. Because Dvaipayana Vyasadeva compiled the Bhagavatam and all the Vedic literatures in order to guide us, in order to give us a direction in life. And Srila Prabhupada and the other acharyas, they also have purported these books in order to give us guidance in life. So traditionally, I talked about this when I gave the Sunday Feast lecture because it's very much on my mind, this idea that of learning from what we come in contact with in the Bhagavatam and actually making it applicable to ourselves. Even in our upbringing, which most of us, our upbringing had nothing to do with the Vedas, but from our upbringing also, we heard things from our relatives, from our parents, and we learned from them. If I say Pinocchio, what did you learn from the story of Pinocchio? Does anyone remember? Don't lie, right? Whenever he told a lie, his nose grew a little bit. So pretty soon he had this huge nose. So we learned that don't lie. What about the boy who cried wolf? What did we learn from that one? Similar. Don't lie or don't make up stories, because then don't try to make people do things out of jest, because then when you really need them to do something for you, they're not going to be there for you. What about Beauty and the Beast? Huh? Beauty's not everything. That love is deeper than beauty, right? Love should be based on something other than just external beauty. What about Savitri and Satyavan? Everybody know that story? Now we've gone into another realm. Not a Disney movie, so therefore you don't know it. I see. Okay. Maybe we should make it into a movie. Yeah. Right, that a chaste wife, by being really chaste, she was able to save her husband from death. She actually tricked Yamaraj and got Yamaraj to allow her husband to live by her chastity. What about Megara the Hunter? Now, that wasn't a Disney movie, but we've heard a lot and seen plays. So everybody knows Megara. What about Megara the Hunter? What did we learn from that story? Huh? Compassion. And we learned about the effects of karma, and to be a little cautious, because what we do, we're going to get back. It may seem to be innocuous, but ultimately it's not. So anyway, and on it goes, and there's so many different things that we learn. So what about Kubja? What do we learn from the story of Kubja? So first, the spiritual lessons we've discussed somewhat in the previous classes, and we see that Kubja approached Krishna with a material desire, just like kind of Dhruva. He approached also. He went to find Krishna, but he had a material desire. But when Dhruva got his darshan with Krishna, he realized that his desire was material, and he repented, or he was sad, he was unhappy that he had that material desire. And he said, well, I was going for pieces of glass, and now I have a valuable diamond. So he realized that he had made a mistake. Kubja didn't quite get that far. And actually, if you go, because the story of Kubja doesn't really end here. The story of Kubja, is, at least as far as the Bhagavatam goes, ends in chapter 48. So in chapter 48, the title of that chapter is Krishna Satisfies His Devotees. And what happens there is that Krishna goes back to Kubja. Right? He goes back to Kubja's house. He also finishes up his business with Akrura, or at least some of his business with Akrura. And he goes back to Kubja as he had promised. He goes with Uddhava. And it's very, very interesting that throughout these purports, both in this part of the Bhagavatam and in the chapter 48, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary, which is almost replicated here, these purports by Hridayananda Maharaj and Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu are basically coming from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his purports, stresses maybe a little bit more than they've chosen from, because they only took parts of his purports and put them in here. But his purports stress some moral lessons, some lessons about how to behave, how men and women should behave, how you should protect your reputation, because your reputation might get you in trouble if it's not protected. If you do things improperly, it might come back to haunt you later on. In order to function in society, you have to keep your reputation intact. We learned that from Lord Chaitanya also. Lord Chaitanya, when he was being ridiculed by his students for chanting Gopi Gopi, he realized that although he had come as the Supreme Personality of Godhead incognito to lead people, he wasn't quite getting the effect, because the respect was maybe lacking. People were taking him for granted. And so even the students threatened him and chased after him. So he took sannyas at a very young age to protect his reputation, to protect others so that they would behave properly towards him, because he would be shielded by the respectful relationship with a sannyasi. So Krishna didn't take sannyas, but he did take Uddhava with him when he went to see Kubja. And it's explained that he took Uddhava with him because Uddhava's character was considered by everybody to be above reproach. And so if he was going into this, basically a house of ill repute, it's described in detail, even in the purports in the Bhagavatam here, that Kubja's residence was decorated in such a way as to incite lusty desires in men, and even went so far as to have profane pictures on the walls, and pictures of naked ladies on the walls. So Krishna didn't want to go in there. He didn't want people to think, oh, he's associating with low-class people. So he brought Uddhava with him, and therefore he was able to satisfy Kubja's desire by putting her. Actually, he put his feet on her breasts, and that's how he satisfied all her lusty desires. But then he left. And that in it also is a very telling thing, that Krishna only stayed for a very brief period of time, and he satisfied Kubja's two desires, both of which were material. Even though it's explained also in that 48th chapter, don't worry, whoever lectures on this, everyone will forget it by the time we get to the 48th chapter, so you can talk it on again. But that there's a verse, the 6th verse in that chapter, describes that Kubja had no pious credits except for the fact that she had put sandalwood paste on Krishna's head. No pious credits. So we look at her previous life, like we heard from Mother Nanda the other day, from Garga Samhita, that she was Sarpanaka, but Sarpanaka didn't have very many pious credits. I mean, really, she came with a lusty desire. Fortunately, she directed it towards Lord Ram. But she also wanted to kill Sita, which wasn't a very nice thing to do. And then she kind of incited Ravana to kidnap Sita. It was because of her enviousness for Sita, against Sita, and her anger at Ram for not satisfying her desire. She went back to her brother and said, hey, he's got quite a girlfriend. You should go and take her away, or quite a wife. So she incited that whole incident. Of course, on one level it's Leela, but on another level it's there to teach us lessons. Actually, it's compared that Kubja in one purport is compared even to Arjuna, in that Arjuna, by doing what he wasn't supposed to do, refusing to fight, he caused the Bhagavad Gita to be spoken, and we learn so much from the Bhagavad Gita. So from his apparent ignorance, of course he was feigning ignorance, and he had a very close and intimate relationship with Krishna, but in his feigning of ignorance and saying, I'm not going to fight, look at all these good arguments why I'm not going to fight, the Bhagavad Gita was revealed to us. And so also with Kubja, she showed us what to do by offering sandalwood paste to Krishna, by taking a submissive position towards Krishna and offering whatever she had, because she didn't have that much. She offered those ointments to Krishna, and she received benediction. She received benefit for that, which we'll discuss in a second. But she also showed us what not to do, because when Krishna came to her, and basically just like when he saw Sudama, the garland maker, and he asked Sudama, what do you want? Sudama didn't say, I want a lot of money, or I want better flowers to make garlands out of, or I want to be the best garland maker in the whole world, or, I want you to only buy your garlands from me, don't buy garlands from anybody else. It's a good advertisement. But he said he wanted pure devotional service, and he wanted to have the association of Vaishnavas, and he wanted to have compassion for all living beings. But if you look at what Kubja wanted, he didn't ask her what she wanted, but he knew what she wanted. And he acted with her according to her material desire. He gave her what she wanted, knowing that what she wanted was mundane. So when she offered him that sandalwood paste, and it's described, by the way, there's a mistake here, because it's described that Krishna put on yellow, and Krishna put on blue, and Balaram put on yellow. It's contrasting to their complexions, it says here. It contrasted with their complexions. But anyway, it matches either way, I guess. But when Krishna saw Kubja's first voluntary effort to serve him, this was her first voluntary effort to serve him. She had no pious credit. It says it right in the verse in the Bhagavatam. So she had no pious credits. This was her first conscious thought, I'm going to serve, and she got to serve Krishna. She wasn't thinking, I'm going to serve God. She was thinking, I'm going to serve this really good-looking guy. And she just got lucky. It was Krishna. So Krishna reciprocated with her by making her beautiful, because that's what she wanted. In her mind, by her talk, she said, well, Kamsa really likes my ointments, but that's all he likes. He doesn't like anything else about me. He just likes my ointments. And so from that we understand, because she had a pretty face, but her body was very distorted. She hadn't had any relationship with any other men. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points that out twice, that she hadn't had any relationship with any other men, not because she didn't want to, but because she wasn't attractive, and so people didn't pay attention to her. So that was her desire, and Krishna reciprocated by making her beautiful. And then Krishna reciprocated a second time by going to her house. So now, in going to her house, she could have asked him for anything. But by the decoration of the house and by what she did when he came there, because it's described in detail that when he came there, she put all kinds of scents on herself, and she dressed herself in a particular provocative way, and she approached him in a way that her intentions were quite obvious. There was no secret about what Kubja wanted. So therefore Krishna reciprocated with her again in that way. And then she said to him, okay, I'm going to ask you for something. I want you to stay with me and not go with anybody else. Just stay with me and not go with anybody else. And Krishna wasn't willing to do that. And so then she said, well, just stay for a few more days. And he wasn't even willing to do that. He pleased her with gentle words. He made her feel good. But he also left. He left right away. And that was the end of that opportunity, that door in the wall, so to speak. That she was living in she had an opportunity. She could have done something else, but she didn't do something else. When Dhruva met Krishna, he could have said, well, I just want a kingdom. I don't really want anything else. But that's not what he said. What he said was, I wanted a kingdom, but now I see you, and really, I have no material desire anymore. I just want to serve you. But that's not what she said. And that's not what she wanted either. And so Krishna reciprocated with her to the level of her qualification. And that's what Krishna says, right? To all of you, as you surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. He says also that he's impartial to everybody, and he rewards everybody. Whoever serves him in some way, then he serves them also. But how he serves, or to the degree that he serves, also depends on our consistent reciprocation. It's not a one-time shot. It's not like once you do something for Krishna, Krishna does something for you, then you're home free. You don't have to do it anymore. It's a constant endeavor. To have a relationship requires constant work. For those of us in the audience, or those here who have a marital relationship, or any relationship, a relationship with a child, it requires constant work. You may be their best friend today, but tomorrow you may do something that makes them angry, and then you have to work to make the relationship positive again, right? Otherwise, maybe they'll go away. If you don't do the work, then the relationship will disappear. It will break down. So our relationship with Krishna, it requires constant surrender. Surrender is a thing, an activity that we do on a moment-to-moment basis. And Krishna gives that opportunity to people who qualify for it, but they have to reciprocate. They have to enter in and take advantage. There's a really nice quote here, if I can find it in this stack of paper, that from Srila Prabhupada, that he talks about what it means to be fortunate. And it's described here that Kubja was unfortunate. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, at the end of discussing Kubja's Leela, he describes her as unfortunate because she asked for something and she didn't get it from Krishna. And it wasn't really, she continued with material desire when it was all over. She didn't give up her material desire. And again, of course, comparing again to Arjuna, this was her Leela. She was actually a liberated soul, but this was her Leela, and her Leela was to teach us something. And we should learn, we should look to the lesson. So Srila Prabhupada, he says, so in order to become again fortunate, I have to become Krishna conscious. Unfortunate because we have got this opportunity to remembering Krishna, we are trying to avoid him. Just like in English, in the English word, the English here is very broken. This is a lecture from 1966. Man is the architect of his own fortune, is it not? Man is the architect of his own fortune. But if you, as the architect of your own fortune, you are architect of your misfortune also. So if you don't accept Krishna's advice, then you must consider yourself unfortunate. So Krishna gives you an opportunity to make spiritual advancement, and if you don't take it, then you're the most unfortunate. Because being ignorant is one thing, but knowing and then not doing what Krishna wants makes us most unfortunate. It's described in that verse where Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij that Bhagavan Jeev, the fortunate soul, is given instruction and an instructor, a spiritual master, who tells him how to make spiritual advancement. And then I hear, and then I don't do. Then I become most unfortunate. So Prabhupada goes on, we should be cautious. Why shall I become unfortunate? I must become fortunate. So that to become fortunate is not a very difficult thing. All these Krishna conscious people, they are very fortunate. They have taken Krishna's advice as it is, without any change. They are fortunate. And that is being manifest, that they are fortunate. So we can become fortunate by following the directions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, of Srila Prabhupada, and taking them into our life, because we have to build with these things, just like the architect. The architect has to figure out how to construct the thing, how to use the tools to build a successful edifice. We also have to build our Krishna consciousness. It's our responsibility. Krishna gives us the tools, Prabhupada gives us the tools, and then we have to make the right choices. And we have to do that on a moment-to-moment basis. It's not just once. Initiation, when we take initiation, the word initiation, to us, we see initiation, fire ceremony, take your beads, get a name, offer obeisances, Hari Bol Prabhu, and, go around with your cloth and collect some donation. But initiation means to begin. It's where it starts. And so there, because we've taken a vow, we've actually put sandalwood on Krishna's head, because we've shown him that we want to serve him. Then he comes to us, and what do we ask him for? Do we ask him, Krishna, I want your army, not you, because the army's stronger than you are. That's what Duryodhana did when Krishna said, okay, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. You can have me or my army. Duryodhana, he said, I want the army. I'm so glad Arjuna was this idiot. He took you, but I'm so grateful because I wanted the army anyway. I won. So we can do that. Or we can see that Krishna's here and we can actually ask him for pure devotional service and the things that we need to become engaged in his service, fully absorbed in his service. And we can act in ways like here described to run a society that is conducive to the cultivation of spiritual life. That's another level of this lesson that we learn from this section of the Bhagavatam. and all the sections of the Bhagavatam actually, is that we have to act in such a way to make our society conducive so that we don't feed the wrong wolf. There's an Indian saying that there's two wolves inside of every person, and one is full of anger, lust, and greed, and the other is inclined towards higher pursuit, spiritual life, as we know, right? We have the jiva who's inclined to spiritual life, but he's bound up in the three modes of material nature. Who's going to win? The modes of material nature are constantly battling. I'm going to be superior. I'm going to be superior. No, I'm going to be superior. Passion is going to win. No, ignorance is going to win. And which one's going to win? The one we feed the most. The one we surrender to the most. And we don't. And as a society, we have to be careful to feed the right things, not to reward the wrong behaviors, and not to do the wrong behaviors, so that our children and our whole community become established in proper Vaishnava sadachar, proper Vaishnava behavior. The way we dress, here it's described rather elaborately in this section that I was assigned in text 9 and 10, that as soon as Krishna changed Kubja's physical appearance to a beautiful woman, then she became lusty after him. Before that, she was attracted to him, but it was on a different level. But as soon as she became beautiful and sexy, described as being proportioned appropriately, then she became lusty. And so we see that the way we dress and the way we adorn ourselves causes material desire. Or I shouldn't say causes, inspires or enhances material desire, right? It makes us act in funny ways. If we wear devotional or spiritually inspiring clothes, chaste clothing, modest clothing, we act one way. And if we wear not modest clothing, it causes us to act in another way. So all these lessons are there for us in the Bhagavatam. We can learn so many things. Mother Agatmika was telling me she's working on a book, and I can't wait till it comes out. She's not writing it, she's editing it. But one very wonderful Mataji Ruda, who trained her two sons, are very famous, Gopal Hare and Radhika Raman. They were PhD winners by the time they were 21. They were kind of famous. So they learned everything they learned up until the time they came into college through the Bhagavatam. She taught them everything through the Bhagavatam. And then when they were 16, they were able to function in an advanced university environment and put everybody else to shame. I remember Radhika telling me that when he was in UF, what was it, Gopal? Radhika was in UF. He was a professor in UF, but he was only 21. And he went to go into the faculty library, and they wouldn't let him in. And he said, "I'm faculty." And they said, "Yeah, tell us another one." Because he was so youthful. But she taught them everything they needed to know from the Bhagavatam. So everything is here. Everything, how to dress, how to walk, how to talk, how to act, how not to act, how to protect ourselves from vicious miscommunication, rumors, and it's all here in the Bhagavatam. And also have to go back to Godhead. So we can learn all these things by studying this beautiful jewel of the Srimad Bhagavatam from all its different facets. I'll stop here, and if there's any questions, then we can. I knew it before you even raised your hand.
So in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that he can only be seen by pure devotional service. Bhaktyamam avijanati. So you said Kubja has 0 pious, or 1 pious credit. There was a point. So how did she get to see Krishna? If she
I also described that it's Leela. To some extent, it's Leela. She showed us how to behave and how not to behave. She's in the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is not some storybook. It's a special book, and even to make it into the pages of the Bhagavatam is like, better than Ripley's Believe It or Not. It's a big thing, So she made it into the Bhagavatam, which already indicates that she's a special person. She had contact with Krishna, and she's described as Bhushakti. So she's actually an energy of the Supreme Personality of God. Yes. No.
Kuja was lucky and that it just, she just, by luck, she was able to go and hear Krishna that she offered
Gyati
to him.
Sukriti is what I said, but yeah.
So, not a blade of grass moves without the sanctioning of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I was always understanding that the super soul in the heart is guiding every living entity, and so nothing can, something like that. So if you're out, you're out distributing books, there's so many people you give to, but somebody, the super soul in everybody's heart, one person comes up where nobody else did. So here's Kuja. I was wondering how it would have just been luck. Krishna, of course, has to sanction things in there to have her guided.
Well, having Krishna's sanction is lucky, right? Makes you fortunate. But I had an experience with Prabhupada where one devotee, when we were talking, there were 4 or 5 of us standing with Prabhupada in Buffalo in 1967, 68, 69, 69. And one devotee said to Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, because Prabhupada was talking about this, good fortune and how we were so fortunate to come in contact with Krishna. And he said, so that means, Srila Prabhupada, that means I was a yogi in my last life. And Prabhupada said, some people come by mistake. So he used the word mistake. So we think, well, there's no mistakes, and everything is controlled by Krishna. What happens by mistake? Was he, talking to a gopi and he missed that one? I mean, how do we have a mistake? But if we mix up too many levels at once, and it becomes so muddled that we can't make any sense out of it. So we have to look at one strand at a time, and we have to understand also with our intelligence that, like Srila Prabhupada came to America. That was Krishna's arrangement. So many people met Srila Prabhupada, even served Srila Prabhupada for years, and yet went away and didn't really take up Krishna consciousness, at least not yet. Maybe they will in the future. We don't know when that fortune or when their luck, when their number will come up, so to speak. They have put their name in the lottery, but they don't know when their number will be pulled. It may not be for 5 lifetimes or 10 lifetimes or 50 lifetimes, depending on how many other things they do between now and then. So, on the other hand, the fact that we even came in contact with Prabhupada, maybe it was due to our good fortune. Maybe it was by mistake. Maybe it was because it's described in Bhagavad Gita that the pure devotee is even more merciful than Krishna. That Krishna doesn't go after us if we're not inclined to at least act in the mode of goodness, but the pure devotee goes for the most fallen. Lord Chaitanya sent Nityananda to find the most fallen. So, I mean, I suppose we could look in some, of scripture and find out that Jagai and Madai in their previous life were somebody other, and they really weren't drunks all the time. But for our purposes of learning, we have to see that Lord Nityananda saved Jagai and Madai, and they were very fallen. And I'm more fallen. So therefore, save me first. And that's the way the Acharyas see. So we can't get too entangled into this and this and that. We have to see the lessons that we're supposed to learn and extricate them a little bit. And Kubja's story teaches us many different levels on different levels. Lessons on different levels.
Thank you. Very nice. I wasn't talking about that she was not fallen. I'm just saying that, Krishna sanctions everything. So as super soul, he was guiding.
Yeah, he sanctioned, and then she had the opportunity to take that and run with it. But she didn't run all the way with it. She ran partially with it. But still, of course, taking the didactic part of it, not the Leela part of it, we don't know in the future what happened to her. We can only assume that because she came in contact with Krishna directly and intimately, that there was some good fortune later on where she did take the opportunity to become Krishna conscious. That's our understanding of how it works. But that's not in the Bhagavatam. I will.
You were talking about Kubja, what she asked for. just a couple of weeks ago, I found myself that I was at home on my own, and I had to open a bottle. Some guests were coming and to make curd, and I had some trouble with my hand, so I kept on opening, and I couldn't open. And so finally I said, "Oh, Krishna, please help me. I have to have these guests coming. I have to make this curd. Please help me." I was really calling out to him I needed this help.
And
what would you comment? Yes, could you comment on that?
Well, Prabhupada gives two examples of that. But first of all, I'll just say that you were going to serve Krishna. So calling on Krishna to help you serve Krishna is a good thing. Because Krishna says whether you have many material desires or no material desires or millions of material desires or you just desire liberation, it's best to call on him. Because by calling on him, you get benefit. Ultimately, you get benefit. And he's the supplier ultimately anyway. So Dhruva went into the forest with a totally material desire, much greater than opening a jar. But he got a lot from Krishna. Because he knew the goal of life. Once he saw Krishna, he got it. And you also got it. I mean, how many times do you ask Krishna for pure devotional service? And once you ask him to open a jar, what's the big deal? But even that opening the jar, what are you going to do with it? You're going to make curd, and what are you going to do with that? You're going to offer it to Giriraj and Girirani, so Hare Krishna, it's still devotional service. But sometimes, Prabhupada gives the example, he gives two that I found. One is a lady who's carrying a burden on one shoulder, and she's like exhausted, and she's, "Oh, Bhagavan, what do you want?" "Oh, I want to put it on the other shoulder. This shoulder's tired." It's like, and the boatman who wants to put pillows along the Ganges, because, when they go up the current, they push with a stick, and they walk on the rocks. So Prabhupada says that he's praying, when I get rich, first he's praying for money, and then what's he going to do with the money? He's going to put pillows along the Ganga so the rocks don't cut his feet while he's pushing on the boat. So this is silly. But the reason it's silly is because they're not thinking of pure devotional service at all, ever. They're just thinking, my happiness is contingent on pillows on the Ganga, or getting this burden shifted from my right shoulder to my left shoulder. And as soon as that pain is not on my left shoulder anymore, then I'll be happy. So if we let ourselves get in that illusion that if I can do this, then all my problems will be solved, then we're in trouble. But I don't think you were there, so don't worry about it. Any other comments? Oh, I'm sorry, Shesha Prabhu, I didn't see you behind the thing.
Thank you for your class. Along the lines that Hari Prana Prabhu was asking, if Kubja had Krishna put his feet on her breast to satisfy her lusty desires, I assume, and it says, doesn't it, that her lusty desires were satisfied. And of course, we can't satisfy lusty desires materially.
For the moment, they were satisfied.
Well, that's the question. I mean, were they satisfied, sort of spiritually?
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in that specifically, in that purport, and Prabhupada even says it in Krishna book, and you'll find it in here in the 48th chapter also, that he says specifically, he says, Krishna is giving a warning in this pastime that we should never approach Krishna for material desire, that it's foolish, and that the result will be the result will be not what we wanted. So that is in the Bhagavatam itself, and it's in the Krishna book too, in this Leela, but it's not here, it's later. That there's some understanding that she approached for the wrong reason, so she got something wonderful, but it didn't last long term. Maybe it came up later in her next life or 15 years. Maybe she was Pingala, somehow or other that connected. But in the Bhagavatam sequence of events, you hear that she was unfortunate because she didn't seek pure devotional service, and therefore she didn't get pure devotional service. Although, you know, then you hear also, it's mentioned in those purports, that there's that example of what to do and what not to do, and there's that Leela aspect of it running in the background. But in the foreground, it's like kind of having the discussion that it was Arjuna compassionate or was he in Maya? You know, it's like, because there's two things going on in different levels. Is there somebody else with a hand up? No. Okay, I'm going to end here. It's late. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.